Michelle. Welcome to Miracles Happen. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yes, I'm so excited to hear your story. I think our podcasts are going to be published like out of sync, but like mine's going to be published first. But I got to talk with you yesterday. It was so fun.
It was so much fun. I loved it. I was already quoting you today, as I told you. I was really, really inspired.
Well, I'm waiting for the inspiration back because I know you have plenty. I've listened to your podcast and it's astounding. So I wanted to there's like 1,000 things that I want to talk to you about, but I wanted to like narrow it down, rein it in.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about some chakra stuff today around fertility. So I'm really looking forward to this. But first, if you could you give us just like a little like mini bio, what you do and how you came to specialize in fertility acupuncture?
Yes. So I'm an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine practitioner, and I specialize in fertility. I also do hypnotherapy, online consultations, in person, and I do fertility coaching as well. So the way I got here was in my previous life, I was an architect. And before around 25, that's when my life was changed by going to an acupuncturist myself. And why I went was because I would have 3-month-long cycles. So I wouldn't get my period for 3 months straight, really since I got my period at age 13. And went at age 17 to a gynecologist. My mom took me, like what's going on. I think we have matching mugs.
Do we? I am not surprised, Michelle.
I know, right?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, totally. So my mom took me to a gynecologist, and I remember at that time thinking, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor. The doctors give you a cure. End of story. So I remember going. I wasn't sexually active yet. He was giving me the pill, and I was like, what? Like, why am I going on the birth control pill? It's birth control. Like, I didn't realize what it was used for.
Right.
And he said, well, you're going to end up getting regular periods. And I said, okay, well, but what happens if I get off? And he goes, well, you're going to continue having your symptoms. And I was like, okay, makes no sense, but fine. I'll just go forward with this. So I remember going on the birth control pill and off, really on and off. And the reason off is because I felt, and I was inspired. My grandmother always used to talk about natural medicine and like eating right and doing things like that and not taking too many pills. And so somewhere I think that she planted a seed. And my mom as well, she was very healthy oriented. And so I would get off to give my body a break. And I also felt like being on the pill, I'd kind of retain water. It just didn't make me feel right.
Yeah.
So I just kind of intuitively felt like I need to take breaks from this. And I did. Luckily, but every time I'd get off, I'd go back to the same cycle. So I remember around 25 traveling for a little while, and I was doing architecture at the time, but I took a little like 3-month break. I traveled, backpacked in Europe, went to Cuba. Wow. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my God. I have to hear this.
However, didn't get my period the whole time. And I was like, what's going on? So I came home and I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. Like, I got to figure something out. So she happened to find out about an acupuncturist in Queens. We were living in New York, and he just so happened to specialize in gynecology. So in China, they do both. He's from China, and they do both Western and Eastern in the training. And he specialized in gynecology. So I remember sitting down with him, and he was like, the period is so important for women. It really is the heart and center of your health. And I remember hearing that. It's like yesterday. It's one of those things that it's a pivotal moment that like your soul knows, listen in on this information. And it's like an imprint that he had on me. And I remember coming home with a bag of herbs, and after acupuncture and getting my period that same day, it's like he unblocked something. And after that for a session, I was regular. And I don't think I saw him for another 5 weeks. But I got my period a second time, and 4 weeks later, which was crazy to me. I was like, okay, this stuff is magic. It's amazing. So it, of course, sparked an interest, a little fire in me to want to go back to school for natural medicine. Plus, I wasn't really feeling a lot of meaning in my job, which, by the way, is another thing. It's another health thing, in my opinion. If you don't do something that's aligned with you, it could suck the living life out of you.
Yes.
And it can really affect your fertility, your body, your everything.
Right.
So I knew in general that I wasn't feeling very aligned with my job, and I wanted to go back to school. And of course, that was an uphill battle, as all things that are worth it are.
Yes.
Not so much going to school, but also, you know, being in the face of a lot of opinions that are like, you went to school for architecture, you're going to let that go and do something else. And it's that whole thing. But I felt that burning desire in me. And I eventually went back to school around 2004. And I first studied, actually 2003, I first studied Ayurveda. I went back to school for that, learned Kundalini yoga. I was just really intrigued by Asian, the Asian culture, the Asian wisdom. And so went back to school for that. And then eventually went back to school after having my kids, and who I thank Dr. Lee for, because had he not fixed my period or, you know, resolved my issues, I wouldn't have been able to get pregnant. I don't think at all, really, because there's no way I would have known when I was ovulating or if I was ovulating. So I thank him for that. So I kind of just happened to get to it early. I was lucky for that. So had my kids after they got to a certain age. I went back to school for acupuncture and then eventually hypnotherapy. I'm very interested in the mind. We spoke about this yesterday. I think that it's the center of everything. I've also been a meditator for over 20 years. So we share that common love. And again, that meditation is not necessarily easy, but it's the most amazing thing. It's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear your story. And it's like, it's amazing when I'm thinking when you're talking that, yes, thank you to Dr. Lee and your inner like knowing that I need to do something different here. And it's got to fit, like, I've got to be in line with what's happening, and Western medicine by itself is not it. It's not, you know, we can't discount Western medicine. It's useful.
Absolutely. It has a place for sure.
Yeah. But it's like you had a knowing. So again, I could talk to you about 1,000 things. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on meditation. But I
know it's a whole other thing.
Right? Oh my God. So I was listening to your podcast, and there was an episode where you do a lot of interviews, but this was just a solo cast. You're by yourself, and you were talking about creativity and fertility.
I knew you were going to talk about that. How funny.
Yes. It's like, it's a big topic, and you know, we don't have hours and hours, which I'm sure we could just on that particular topic, but I was hoping that you could dive a little deeper into it for today, about this particular topic, this creativity specifically. But also you talked about the second chakra and its connection to fertility and its connection to creativity. I'm wondering if you could just kind of riff on that for a little bit.
Okay, so absolutely. I've actually always had a connection with creativity growing up. I've always been an artist. I've always expressed myself that way. What's interesting too is after I started going to Dr. Lee, it kind of opened up into this whole other form of expression. Now, my issue was really being able to express myself fully, and there was always this fear of judgment. So there were definitely things going on. It's almost like my uterus was afraid to just let go. When I went to Dr. Lee, I felt like it opened me up to a whole different level, and I started painting women. And it's funny because people would always joke about this. They'd be like, I see vaginas everywhere. Like, it's like there was a lot of second chakra stuff. And so you could see it symbolically in my art. And I really do believe
your work
that.
Behind you?
Yes, that's my art.
Oh, how beautiful.
One of the things.
Oh,
I'm very influenced by Eastern culture. So do a third eye and things like that. Lots of women. And I do believe that we're channels, whether we're healing, writing, books, whatever we're doing, and conceiving, we're channels. So we're channels, and that comes to us spiritually, physically, mentally, all of those different levels of us, everything that has every single vibration or topic really, or something that has a purpose in physicality is also something that you can see on a mental level, and it has an energy.
Yes.
So the creativity, the second chakra, we have vortexes in our body basically. Just like Sedona is a vortex of the earth. There's vortexes on the earth, and they're starting to measure the frequency. We see that there's vortexes in the earth. Well, our bodies have vortexes, and that's what chakras are. And so just like we learn about meridians in Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, which is really the cousin, very, very closely related, they do Marma points, and they also talk about chakras. And those chakras are energy centers, and they have an energy frequency that usually goes along with colors, because what are colors? They're light frequencies. So you could see basically there's this macro and micro, and you could see the micro in a lot of different ways, but the macro is just, it's reflecting in every single way possible. So fertility is conception. And so you conceive things, and you conceive things in your mind, and you give birth to them through art. Sometimes you conceive and you don't carry it through into birthing into this life. We conceive and we kind of like let it go. We don't allow that process to start and finish.
Yeah.
And so we kind of like pass it off as just like this fleeting thing. Inventors conceive all the time. They give birth to ideas. So where does that come from? It's using us as a channel. It's using our mind and spirit as a channel. But that same energy also uses our body as a channel. And that's the physical birth of a child.
Yes. It reminds me of like anything that's anything that is physically present was once an idea. And it reminds me of a quote I heard once, not about conception of a baby, but of a song. There was a gentleman who was writing this song, but he kept changing it and like, wanting it to be different. And, the idea of this was there's nothing stronger than an idea whose time has come. And he was hemming and hawing over this song. And a year later, he's still writing this song when he's driving in the car with his friend, and his song comes on the radio.
Oh,
like,
wow.
That is my song. Why is my song on the radio?
That's crazy.
And it's because the song left and went to someone else who could physically manifest it in this world, right? So
I've had that happen many times, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I've thought about that. That's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, so that is what it is. We just don't see it. And just because we don't see it, and we spoke about this before, just because it has not been proven in science does not mean it does not exist. Proven in science means we just took action and we studied it.
Yep.
But this has got to be a fraction of reality, of how it is. And we are a lot more observant, and we are really built to perceive those things. And so we need to listen to, it's just so important to listen to that guidance and listen to what we are given.
Yes. Yeah. So that you create the action around it.
Yes.
If it feels good to you, right?
Exactly.
So this second chakra energy is the color of orange, right? Are you able to pick up on folks like chakras and whether or not there are blockages or?
Yeah, I pick up intuitively just on what's going on and what's getting in the way of their life just by talking to them. That's a separate thing. It's just, I think you get a feel for it over time. But I wouldn't say I'm looking specific, but sometimes I do. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, okay, their sacrum is blocked. Okay. And that's why they're feeling such fear. They need to really get the roots down into the earth and be able to, first of all, release, because it's so closed up, but also be able to access energy, because when things get closed up, there's deficiency and excess at the same time. There's excess, there's a block, but because of the block, you're getting deficient because you're not being able to absorb what you need. So we need to work on both.
When you say absorb, do you mean like chemistry, like food and things? Or are you talking about energy? Or I guess it's
all. It's everything. But it's also being able to feel grounded and rooted, which is why the first chakra can cause a lot of fears. What's interesting is that the second chakra sits on the first chakra. So if the first chakra is so based in fear, then you're, feeling fear of being judged, then it's going to affect how you express yourself. And it's going to stop you in your tracks to be able to open up that self-expression of creativity.
So this kind of leads into my next, not kind of, it does. It leads into my next question was around, when you work with people, do you find that there are other chakras that are also related to their fertility or struggles?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about that?
I'll tell you this, the heart chakra. The heart chakra actually is the heart center, the heart in Chinese medicine, the organ of the heart, which has so much more than what we in Western medicine or conventional medicine perceive as the heart to be. It has almost like a spirit, all the organs do in Chinese medicine. So the heart, yes, it's fascinating. The heart is directly connected to the uterus by a vessel called the Bao Mai. Now the Bao Mai, so the uterus is connected to the heart, and it's also connected to the kidneys. I have an episode on that, the heart-uterus connection. And what's interesting too is what's the love hormone?
Oh, oxytocin.
Right. And what have they been studying so far? There's hardly anything on fertility, but very much so on opening the uterus, which really gets, because it helps the uterus contract and start the birth, right?
Yes.
There's, her name is like not coming to me, but there's a woman who's a doula who says the same thing the same energy that gets the baby in is the same energy that gets the baby out. Now that is a very intuitive thing to say. So that heart-uterus connection, the heart opens the uterus. Now it opens the uterus to accept life in, and it also opens the uterus to accept life out, and also helps with menstruation. So that oxytocin, which is studied so much on the bonding and connecting of the baby, also they know that it just creates a connection with people in general. There's not a lot of studies on fertility. However, what we do know is that things don't happen by accident, especially in the body. There's a reason for why things happening. Everything has a purpose. Oxytocin increases during ovulation, and it also increases during orgasm. Women have it more. Women have it more, and that's why they get so bonded and connected, and they don't do well with one-night stands. There's a reason for that, right? So they have it more, and they have it, nipple stimulation also induces it. So just FYI for people to, keep in mind. And so part of like working with couples, I always talk about like how intimacy is so important. It's so important to have pleasurable sex.
Yes.
To conceive, whether you're doing IVF or not, because you're actually going to get more happening and probably going to improve. I mean, I can't say this for a fact because it's definitely not, it hasn't been explored in studies, but my thoughts is that it's probably going to help with that quality, blood circulation, uterine lining, everything. And so another thing is, why does it peak around ovulation? There's got to be something to that, right?
Yeah.
That so it's that heart connection, right? And what happens to most people who are trying to conceive for a long time, that act of intimacy becomes mechanical.
Yep. Oh,
and I think it gets even worse. It makes things worse.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah. So my suggestion is always don't always do it around fertile times. Make it a fun thing so that you're not associating it with that. You're able to really connect and have that moment, be in that present moment like you always talk about.
Yes, being
so present. Important.
Yeah, that actually, again, leads right into my next question, because one of the things that you highlighted in your podcast was about play, which is a very second chakra thing, right? Like creativity. Yeah. I remember years ago, I wrote a blog post called Play, Go Get Some. Like,
oh yeah, now. I like that. Yeah, love it.
Now. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that, because I think it's related. You know, when you have sex outside of the fertile window, it does become more like fun as opposed to this thing like I'm ovulate, let's go. It's time. We
Yeah.
got to do this. We have to do this. So yeah, riff on that for a little bit if you would.
Okay, I will. Let me tell you this. The whole point of that, let's not forget, is that we were programmed to have libido and that connection or like desire. Why? Why did nature give us that? To have babies. That's the first thing that happens. That's the initial thing. And it's a very strong force. We have a very strong force in us to procreate.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to that desire. So that aspect of it, that part is so important. It's really the foundation. You can't build anything without a foundation.
Right.
So trying to skip over that, I think we're doing more harm than good. Yeah. And it's just important to really, and the more you do it, the better it gets. Really, it's one of those things. The more you do it, like you what is it? You lose it. No, what was it?
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Exactly. If you don't use it, you lose it. See, I get into this creative mode and I can't speak words.
Words are so heavy.
Side.
No, it's hard. But yeah.
Thank you for validating that. But yeah, it is. So yeah, it's the same kind of thing. So it's one of those things that you can cultivate and harness, just like you can cultivate love, which is why the metta meditation is so important. The loving kindness meditation, you can cultivate love. You can grow it like a garden. And so doing that, we have that ability. That's the power of choice. We really have the choice to do that. We're able to do that. It's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. And it's, when you think about all of the things, I know that people that are watching and listening right now know this for truth. When you're dealing with fertility issues, it becomes a full-time freaking job. Mm-hmm. And you're checking off all the boxes and you're following all the quote rules and you're doctor Googling and you're researching this. And it's very, very not creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this very like dense work place.
Yeah.
And so when you mentioned play in your podcast, I was like, oh, yes, this girl and I.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, we are totally in line here.
Yes.
Because it is that very second chakra creativity place. Like I ask people all the time, what do you do for fun, man? Like you need to do fun again.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad.
And what will happen is a lot of times people they believe that they can't have fun while trying to conceive. They believe that. It's a belief. If you really understand that it's a belief, and it's not necessarily based in truth, it's based in perception. Mm-hmm. But they'll think that that's really the only option, and they don't have that option, and it's just not true.
Right, and it doesn't have to be true. It might be true for them in that moment.
That's true. Yeah.
Truth.
Yes, exactly. But it's not a life sentence, and it's not something that that has to be.
And why would you want it to be?
Yeah.
Why would you want it to be your truth?
It's a very complicated thing, and sometimes there's so much self-blame that goes into this.
Oh gosh, right?
And so self-punishment, and who knows, subconsciously believing that I don't deserve to have fun with this, or who knows? Right. I mean, there's so many different reasons for why. Right.
So examining that is necessary.
Yeah.
And then the metta meditation, right? Like sending compassion and love to one's self, and other people.
Correct. It's such a powerful meditation.
Right.
I think it really is. It's such a powerful meditation. Also forgiveness.
Yeah.
To yourself and others, and just going through and just listening to your gut, because sometimes you'll get things that are not necessarily true, and you'll believe, the prognosis of the doctor sitting in front of you that's not necessarily based in truth. I could say that for a fact, a lot are not based in truth, because I've seen beautiful things happen with my patients who were told those beautiful things cannot happen. So that they cannot conceive on their own.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That less than 1% chance with Jasmine.
Yes.
So did you hear that? Yes.
Yeah, I interviewed her.
She got that. Yeah. That there's an example. It's just it's exactly that.
It's unbelievable. And that she chose to
Mhm.
not believe that.
Yes.
Chose it. It's just unreal.
Yeah.
Um, it makes me think of, there was a time that I went in, I wrote this about this, that I went in to see my, my first fertility doc. It was the what the fuck appointment, you know, like after that first
Yeah.
fail.
Yeah.
And we walked in, and on his door was an article about all the ways that acupuncture can hinder fertility.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that it didn't align with me.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right. And I knew it. I
Mhm.
knew that it didn't feel right.
Wow.
Um, and so I feel like empowering people to heed that inner knowing
Yeah.
is what happens when you induce this like playfulness, because you're not so serious and so left brain and so caught up in, you know, checking boxes and things.
Yeah.
It's much more intuitive. Now, I'm not an artist like you are, obviously a stunning artist, but
Thank you.
I suspect that it's the same, like a similar energy, right? You're really going with what you're feeling and not like,
Yeah.
oh, but this,
Playing is dancing,
yeah,
listening to
yeah,
music, letting it kind of take you to this place that it's just that creative energy. It's not, it doesn't have to be art. It could be writing. It could be just dancing. It could be moving. It could be spontaneous, just any kind of spontaneous movement to music. Something like that will pick you right into, it'll change your psyche and your state of mind in an instant.
it sure will, for the rest of your life, not just on your journey to parenthood, but
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you see, we can go on and on, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
What are some, go ahead.
No, no, no. I said definitely it can go on and on
Yes.
for sure.
I'm wondering what some things are that you can suggest for listeners or watchers right now around opening, particularly their second chakra, but it sounds like they're all sort of interrelated when it
Yeah.
comes to, you know, moving towards parenthood. I'm wondering if you can talk about what you suggest for your patients or for anybody really to help get those moving again, unblocked and freely moving again.
So it's amazing. We have so many free resources and it's right in our body. It's how we move. We could do fertility yoga. Kundalini yoga is really amazing to get things moving. It uses breath. That's another thing that we have. We have this beautiful thing that's both unconscious and conscious in our body. And when it's unconscious and we're stressed out, we breathe short and shallow. And when we're relaxed and feeling happy, we breathe long and deep. Just think after good sex, you know what happens? You're just like, ah, you know, it just lets go. It's easy and free flowing. So we can actually go back and communicate back with the mind by controlling the breath. There's things called pranayama. It basically uses prana is also life force energy. It's breath at the same time, which that says so much just in one word. And you can, pranayama is controlling that breath. And so you can actually breathe long and deep. You could do breath of fire, and it brings heat into your middle and second chakra. It
Can we
brings
do
energy.
can we do a breath of fire? Can you show us how it works?
Yes. Okay. So put your hand right above or like around your belly button.
Okay.
So you put one hand and sit down on a chair, cross-legged position, either way. And then just breathe for a couple of breaths normally, but breathe from your diaphragm. Just be conscious of breathing from your diaphragm. So that's actually, it's called belly breath. And I would suggest everybody start to become conscious of breathing through their belly, because you'll be able to breathe a lot more deeply. And you're also stimulating your diaphragm, which is a very, very important part of our breathing. It has a very, very strong purpose, and also calming us.
Yeah.
So
I can
just
feel
breathing
it.
that, you could feel immediate calm, right? And then when you, well, get ready because it's going to speed up now. So when we do breath of fire, that's a little bit more intense, and it can be very intense. And you can start with maybe half a minute to 1 minute. I would say start doing it as long as possible. And what you do is you're basically just breathing in and out, and then allowing the breath to kind of stabilize. And then once you get it to kind of breathing in, you forcefully breathe out with your diaphragm. You use your diaphragm to push out, and you're going to feel as you're doing that fast, like that.
Oh,
It's like not even a second. So what's going to happen is as soon as you do that, it's going to pump back up automatically. So you're going to inhale automatically, and then you're forcing the exhale out. So you're like pumping, but you're only pumping with the exhale, and you're going to feel your hand going up and down,
oh yeah,
in and out. So you keep doing that for a while. So you're not worried about the inhale. The inhale happens, but you exhale out through your nose forcefully. And then it just, you feel this pumping.
oh yeah. That's okay. I can feel the
And
diaphragm.
once you do that, yeah, you could feel it. You'll feel heat building up the more you do it. And it's incredible. It's actually a great thing to do early in the morning. What's amazing about it is it not only opens up those chakras, really it's like the second and third, but it also will improve your chi overall through breath. I would say ideally, if you could do it outside, then you get fresh air. If not, do it inside. You'll still get benefits. But what it's going to do is it's going to increase oxygen. Well, pranayama is very closely related to chi, prana, which is life force energy, and it's very much connected to the breath. So breathing and bringing oxygen in will actually increase your overall chi. What that does is it increases ATP in the mitochondria, which is so important for egg quality.
Yes. Wow. Check it out.
So it's a multi-faceted benefit.
Yeah. It sounds like it's, so here's my mental health brain.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about people, especially, I mean, this was my own experience, but people who, that I've talked to who've experienced the fertility journey also feel quite lethargic and depressed and those kind of lower vibrations. I imagine this is like very uplifting and like energizing.
Absolutely.
Without a ton of effort.
Right. And it also changes the mental state. It's a quick fix for that.
Oh, it's so great. I love what you said that we have free resources like that. It's so great.
You got it at all times.
And
so long as you live.
We need free stuff. Yes.
Yes, exactly. That's right. And so that's a great way to do it without having to spend a penny.
I know. Thank you for that. So like moving your body, breath work, anything else that you would suggest for your patients or for anybody listening?
Yes, I would say even looking at the sun, like getting some sunlight early in the morning, before 9:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock when it's safe. Obviously, during the day, it could get a little dangerous, and you want to put sunscreen. But if you do it early on, and I remember my grandmother telling me this: early sun, you'll get all the it gives you vitamins, it gives you nutrients. It obviously vitamin D, but it's incredible for your body. It really nourishes and brings life to your body. So getting early morning sun is great as well. And you're getting that light, that fire, that spark, which is so important for cultivating creativity, cultivating everything. It gives you the energy, soul, mind, and body. It kind of it lights your flame.
That is amazing. It's so simple.
Yeah, and also moonlight. Get sunlight and moonlight. Let's not forget moonlight. Moonlight's important. Just to have the sun helps our circadian rhythm. Moonlight also helps our monthly rhythm.
Okay. I mean, cycles have been tied to the moon a lot, but I didn't think about going out to get moonlight.
Yes.
That is too cool.
It's all free. It's right there. We have it all.
I know. Oh my gosh. We need a list of free resources for people, things that actually are useful for their fertility.
Yeah, I mean, it really does help because look, think about it. When you move to a different place or you travel, you feel jet lagged, you feel off. Why? Because we sync up with our environment.
Yes.
And all of it. I mean, the moon impacts tides. I mean, the nature is very much a part of our bodies, and we could see it. I mean, it's evident.
Yes. So may as well use it. It's like welcoming you to use it.
Exactly. And there's no side effects, and there's nothing lost by trying, even if you're not sure. Try it.
That's true. That's true. Sometimes I find that, and I don't know if you find this with people, but with like your patients or whomever, but I find that people don't notice the subtle changes, but then once the subtle changes add up, it's like, oh, I suddenly feel different.
Yeah.
Now, so even if you try the morning sunlight one time and you're like, oh, please, I didn't do anything, keep doing it.
Yeah,
It'll add up,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
for sure. It's like you go to the gym once, oh, nothing happened.
Right.
I don't feel anything. Or you eat healthy for one day. I didn't lose the weight. I don't understand how this works.
Forget it. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's certainly, especially the Western mind, right? We're like immediate gratification. I'm hungry, go to a drive-through,
Yeah.
it's a must have right now.
Yeah.
So the mindset has to change a little bit. So slowing down, creating some stillness, which of course brings us back to that meditation piece. But
Yeah, absolutely.
wow, thank you for that info. I appreciate it.
Of
Is
course.
there anything else you feel, Miss Michelle, that you would want to, is there anything, words of wisdom or inspiration or insight, anything else you'd like to add for people?
Yeah, and it's something that I repeat a lot. Number one, self-care, and really self-care and also intuition, like listening to yourself, listening to what your body's telling you. It's so important. I just had a patient today that I was speaking to, and she's working with a nutritionist, and the nutritionist told her to drink like this crazy amount of water, which I know can not be the greatest thing, to drink too much. You can actually die from drinking too much water. But she was saying, which I'm not against. I mean, listen, in some cases it might be great, but she was saying that she's having a hard time getting to that level. And I said, no, listen to your body. If your body's telling you, no, this is too much, it's too much. Yeah. Even I, have suggestions that work for like 80% of my patients, but if 20% tell me this doesn't feel right to me, I'm going to listen, because the only person that can hear your own intuition and feel the signals of your body is you. Nobody else can do that for you. So if your body's telling you something and your inner guidance is telling you something, listen.
Yes. Oh my God. That is so incredibly important. I'm wondering about if you have thoughts. I don't want to put you on the spot because I didn't prep you before for this question.
Oh, that's fine. Ask.
I know, your
I don't remember the questions anyway.
Oh, good.
So.
Good. Yes. You know your stuff anyway. So I'm wondering about what you think about and what you tell people, because in this process, this fertility process, people begin to disconnect from their own intuition, and they totally mistrust. They just don't trust themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What do you talk about with people around trusting themselves again?
So one of the quickest ways to really hone in into what your intuition's telling you is to feel your body, because your emotions, you experience emotions through your body, and you experience feelings or intuition through your body. It's interesting how I remember being in a building with my kids, and there was a guy that came in. He looked there was something a little odd, but my older daughter moved back. I remember seeing her physically respond. And then, it turns out the guy was a little on drugs or something happened. We ended up having to call the police, and we locked the door because I spoke to somebody else and he was in and out of the building. But what's interesting is she had a visceral reaction. I said, listen, that gut feeling that you had, do you remember when you stepped back? And she said, yeah. I said, you listen to that forever. Like anytime something like that happens, you see how you physically, it was like a quick, it was very, I don't even think she noticed it at first. Like it was a quick physical reaction. It's that gut feeling we all have. Yeah. So your body communicates with you. And what happens is your body won't analyze it like our minds do and dismiss it. Right. Your body will feel it right away. So get in touch with your body. And if you're sitting there in front of the doctor and the doctor's telling you something that does not feel in line, now what I mean by that is, am I constricting at this information? Am I tensing up? Yes. Why am I tensing up? Is there maybe a need to go get a second opinion? And sometimes that second opinion
or 10th, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. And so those things can be a life change, a game changer, life changer. Yes. In the fertility journey, if it's not aligned. And so you'll feel it. It's so automatically, but the easiest way to do it is just becoming aware of your body sensations.
Man, I love that. I mean, honestly, for me, I'm just thinking about that, seeing that article on my Ari's door, and I swear if I left, it would have saved me 15 grand right then. If I had listened to my intuition,
Mm-hmm.
it would have saved me that cycle money.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I didn't listen. I just, oh, he's the doctor, he must know, right?
Yeah,
And
that's what most people do because you don't know. You're not a reproductive endocrinologist. You
right,
didn't study it, so
right,
you're depending on other people's expertise.
right.
I believe that if you go to the wrong one, I feel like it's going to affect your retrieval. It's going to affect your egg health because your body responds so much, and our
Yes,
bodies are intelligent. So
your
if
body.
you're with a wrong doctor, it's going to affect your outcome.
Yep, agreed. Like 100%. Yes,
Hmm.
I feel completely in line with you.
Me too. Me too. I know we talked about it yesterday. I mean, yeah, soul sisters from another mister.
Real, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can just feel the difference, right?
Yeah.
Michelle, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being willing to exchange interviews with me. This has been such a good time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.